At this point, I would love to introduce or have our panelists really introduce themselves, have you get to know them and really what organization they're from. Again, I will be the moderator for today. My name is Sarah McMullen. I am a business manager and disability consultant with Getting Hired. I am a Korean American woman on the screen with a navy blue background, dark hair, and a dark gray dress on. So Jordan, at this time, I would love for you to just introduce yourself to our guests.
Definitely. Thanks, Sarah. My name is Jordan Snetman, and I work at Comcast as a program manager for DE&I recruiting. And I've been here a little over 2 years now. I have dark hair and I'm wearing a dark colored shirt. And I'm excited to be here with you all today.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. My name is Victoria Gemignani. I am a diversity and inclusion strategist on the global talent acquisition team at Merck. I've been with the organization now going on 4 years. I'm also part of our Disability and Inclusion Strategy Council that is actually led by my colleague, Nora Vele, who's also on the panel. I am a Caucasian woman with short, dark brown hair and a gray background.
Hi, everyone. I am Nora Vele, and I am an executive director at Merck. I've been with the company 30 plus years, and I wear a number of hats in my organization, and one being that I lead the Global Disability and Inclusion Strategy Council. I am a Caucasian woman. I have light hair, and in my background, I have a bookcase with a award for my lifetime achievement in terms of advancing inclusion and equity in the workplace.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Eckert, the Senior HR Compliance Manager with Leidos. Leidos is a defense contractor with some civil and health aspects to focusing on technology. I'm also chair of Leidos's Employee Resource Group for individuals with disabilities and allies. I'm a white female with brown hair, a blue sweater, and got some bookshelves in my home office here.
Wonderful. And thank you again to all of our panelists for joining us here today. Jordan, I would love to start the conversation with you. 2020 has been a very different year, to say the least, and a lot of companies have had to make adjustments to what they had originally planned for disability inclusion initiatives or overall inclusion and diversity initiatives. What did this look like for Comcast this past year? How did Comcast adapt to those changes while still maintaining a focus on your I&D initiatives?
Definitely. And I think, this is something that impacted every organization. And I think from the Comcast side, it took us, it takes a little bit to get the ball rolling as we started to get the hang of everything. I can speak more to our talent side for some of, from my role at Comcast. And I think as hiring was slower during parts of the last 9 months or so, we really took this time to focus on, education, awareness, and training for our talent team. And I think the biggest advantage of this for us was taking that pivot of, we might not be interacting with candidates or kind of frontline face-to-face as much as we were, prior to, but really taking this time to share these resources internally. So we were able to create an internal virtual workplace to house these training resources, from webinars to toolkits to just internal guides that we've created for our talent team enterprise-wide. And this has been a great way to bring our talent team specifically together and pivot those resources where we really do have a sense of community and sharing disability inclusion best practices. Another thing was, with the training and education piece, we really wanted to push a certification. So we are proud to promote the SHRM Employabilities at Work certification throughout our talent space, including our headquarters in Philadelphia to all of our divisions as well. And this is, just been a lot of great feedback on things that we're learning. I think this has definitely been a learning opportunity for everyone in realizing things as along the way of, wow, we can improve in this space, and these are things that we're currently doing and want to change moving forward. And I think with creating this virtual place, it has opened up a lot of conversations and that transparency piece. So we had, kind of going back to early on in April for Autism Awareness Month, we had planned a virtual event in partnership with our My Abilities employee resource group, which supports people with all abilities. And this was a really great conversation we had on neurodiversity and then the impact in the workplace. And that from there kind of sparked conversations throughout our talent space, but also from the business side of what we can do. So that's kind of led to this shift this year of, creating that sense of community and culture of inclusion with these conversations. So, I think from the top down, it's been a year of discussion, which has created, a lot of conversation of what we can do moving forward.
Absolutely. And I know one of the biggest challenges for a lot of organizations has been trying to create still that strong strategy and initiatives for disability inclusion and diversity and inclusion while we're all remote now. So being able to launch a virtual platform and still having trainings available to your employees is what sounds like a great way to still do that and still maintain engagement across all departments, all teams, and kind of work towards that holistic internal approach where this isn't just housed or focused on with any one team or department. It sounds like you had pretty good participation from all teams, whether talent acquisition or leadership and kind of everybody in between. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. I think, the virtual workplace itself was from our talent, and we decided kind of the focus of if we can have our talent, our recruiters and our, talent leaders really understanding of the best way to interview and recruit and onboard people with all abilities, then we can pass that on to the business and our hiring managers to have that better understanding. And from there, our employees. So we kind of wanted to start with that group as our main focus, and then broaden those conversations through our employee resource groups and our business leaders.
Sure. And I have to ask, with some of these great conversations that you said have been sparked or started to happen, have you seen or heard of any employees now sharing their stories a little bit more if they identify as being a person with a disability, or has that led to an increase in that self-disclosure or storytelling piece?
Definitely. And that honestly has been one of my favorite parts from all of this. It's led just through broader discussions of, realizing that maybe they didn't have something that happened or something that they would want to have changed in the future at Comcast if they were to just, have their journey again of starting at the company. And it's led to a lot of people, self-IDing and disclosing of, this is what my story is, or I have a disability, and this is how it impacts me and how we can help other employees in the future at Comcast. And so it's opened up a lot of really great conversations that, it makes it exciting to see kind of people more comfortable talking about these things in the workplace, even virtually.
Absolutely. I know we always say that storytelling is one of the most effective ways to connect with other people. It is also one of the most effective ways to increase self-disclosure from others in the workplace if they feel comfortable to do so. Just sharing something personal about yourself and then having others relate to that is a really fantastic way to do it. So I'm so glad to hear that you've kind of seen that in the works. You've seen those results from taking this approach of increasing education and training at Comcast. One other question that I did have for you, well, first and foremost, I have to say congratulations. So Comcast NBC Universal was the recipient of ARC's 2020 Catalyst Award. And this award was given for Comcast's collaborative efforts to provide people with disabilities increased access to technology and more independence. Can you talk to me a little bit more about this? How did this partnership with the ARC start? I know there's always questions about how can I get more involved? How can I get my organization more involved in the disability community? How can I connect more to other disability organizations and find talent? And it seems that Comcast has been really successful in this area.
Definitely. I think this is a great honor for Comcast to receive this award. This is, with our values, being community impact and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the focus on accessibility. This is something that really the company strives to incorporate in everything. So the ARC is a great partner of Comcast. It started in 2014, so we've been a partner with them for a while. And it really develops with our goals of, especially with Internet Essentials, in our partnerships with providing all of our technology to people with all abilities. So the goal of the ARC and the mission and goals of Comcast, NBC Universal really go hand in hand. So I think it has been a great partnership, and we're looking forward to developing that in the future. And even into 2021, there's some exciting things on the way of ways that we can involve, continue to involve our employees, but also externally facing. I know with our Comcast Cares Day, we have employees involved in these programs to support kind of on a face-to-face level, or virtually, I guess you could say, but also through, the ARC's text coaching program, which is providing people with disabilities the space to learn technology to prepare them and equip them for jobs or opportunities in the future. So I think it really goes hand in hand with the goals of Comcast and our ability to provide technology and the space to make sure everyone has access to these tools.
Absolutely. I love the integration of the partnership and disability inclusion, not just in your talent acquisition, but in everything that you all are doing, down to the products as well that you are creating and that you're providing to consumers. So Laura, I would love to ask you the same question, especially with your role being in HR compliance. What did disability inclusion or just diversity and inclusion initiatives as a whole look like at Leidos this year? How were you all able to adapt?
Well, excuse me, as we know, it's been an interesting year for everyone. And diversity and inclusion, we had a big year, even though it looked different than it would have, right, in any other year. With COVID, we did online events and we missed in-person networking. Yet, I still feel good about what we were able to accomplish. And I think we were able to accomplish different things than had we had a lot more in-person events, right? It changed the focus, but it allowed us to kind of pivot and do things in a different way. We also faced a lot of racial injustice issues and continue to, and Leidos, as a result of that, held a lot of inclusive conversations, but a lot of diversity issues came out in those inclusive conversations. And it also helped address engagement of employees who were teleworking, having those opportunities for additional conversations. One of our groups engaged 10,000 employees in 10 days, with 100 leaders taking lunchtime to have meetings to connect and have these meaningful conversations about work and life and diversity. And so I think having a lot of folks working remotely gave us that opportunity to pull people together and to have those thoughtful conversations. This year too, Leidos added a sixth value of inclusion, and that's been an overarching way to get people on board. It really gave leaders, managers that okay, that hey, in the name of inclusion, we can do this, right? It is a business priority, and we can devote resources to this. We can devote time to it. It's okay to spend time talking about diversity issues, right? It's a value. It's a company priority. In fact, everyone has to show in their goals how they're committed to Leidos's 6 values, and so that really helps get support because folks want to have tangible, manageable ways to say, hey, you know what, this is what I did to show my commitment to diversity this year. Another thing we worked on, which I think took more priority due to the environment, we started a digital accessibility working group, and we have a small group of subject matter experts and advocates, and we're working and providing guidance on how to get digital accessibility really on the enterprise level, on everyone's radar. And with so many folks teleworking, it shows that really having closed captioning, right, being able to have everyone have access no matter where they are is so critical. So a lot's been happening in 2020. And again, I look forward to 2021 if we can get some in-person networking to bring people together. Yet we've been able to accomplish a lot, and it's those conversations we've been able to have been really critical.
Absolutely. And one of the things that really stands out to me about Leidos is the level of involvement from your leadership. I think it really just stands out to me, and something that I really look up to from an organization. And one of my questions around that, just even hearing you had that many leaders take time out of their day to participate in events, in lunches, in discussions together. I'm curious, is that driven by leadership as well? You know, these ideas and the involvement from leadership in initiatives, is that sparked within that same group? Does some of that come externally from other departments as well? Or, you know, who is really kind of driving that?
That's a great question, Sarah. And, you know, I like working at Leidos, and I think one of the reasons is because it comes from the bottom up, it comes from top down, it kind of comes laterally. It's part of the culture that it's okay, and let's embrace it. So top down, our CEO really follows a lot of these issues and gets the company, does what he thinks is right in the community. And so that flows down to our executive leadership team. And then each of our ERGs, there are 9 ERGs, and each has 2 executive sponsors, which really takes the full executive leadership team, right? Someone is represented at each of those ERGs. For the employee with disability ERG, right, we have our head of development and our chief technology officer, right? So top leaders. And so at the executive leadership meetings, right, each of the leaders has an ERG that they're representing. So that knowledge base and interest level really can inform some of their decisions. And then the bottom up, right? People's ideas are welcome, and they can raise them up within the ERGs. They can raise them up directly to our CEO. And so it drives a lot of different initiatives. And then just laterally, right, within the different functions, there are also diversity and inclusion initiatives. We have an Enterprise Inclusion Council starting this year that has representatives across the business, and it's at folks at different levels who are on that council. And I think because diversity is so ingrained throughout the company, and there's so many opportunities for input, that if someone has a concern or question, there should be someone that they are comfortable raising that issue to. And then hopefully, right, I mean, there's always opportunities, but hopefully we can tackle some of these areas.
Yeah, I really like what you touched on, just in terms of, again, when we think about a quote unquote internal holistic approach. I heard you mention ERGs and BRGs. I heard you mention that there is a connection between them and leadership, between talent acquisition, between HR. So there are a lot of bridges between those different departments, which I think is crucial to that. And I think that's partly what has made Leidos so successful in this. And I know you all are really recognized as a global leader in IT. You have locations in 30 different countries. What do initiatives look like internationally for disability inclusion? Have you all been able to find ways to, you know, create an initiative here in the United States, but then also have something kind of similar to that in other countries as well, to create that holistic global feel?
Sarah, that's a good question. And I think that's a growth area for us. This is the first year. In March is when we kicked off our ERG for individuals with disabilities. And so I'd say we're building the foundation this year. We do, you know, our intranet is open worldwide. Employees worldwide are welcome and encouraged to join our ERGs, but clearly with time zone changes and just, you know, feeling that you're in a different country, it's not as, you know, it's very US based for the ERGs right now. You know, that said, we do have interest in the UK and Australia. And so right when folks express interest, we're reaching out to them, trying to keep them engaged, but we haven't been able to really, as one of our goals yet, to expand and say have a chapter in the UK or Australia, where we have some of our larger populations. I'd like to get there. But again, really want to have a solid base in the US before we branch out. But some of our initiatives in the US, we have shared, and we are working with folks in the UK and Australia. For example, the digital accessibility, right? Things that we're learning internally in the US, how can we apply those to some of our systems outside of the country? And there are different challenges there as well. But we do want to get to that point, but we're not there just yet.
Sure. I think that's a growth area for a lot of organizations that are trying to figure that out, right? There are a lot of different laws and regulations to take into consideration. What's considered to be a disability by definition in the United States is completely different in another part of the world. But it sounds like you have been able to still make a connection through the employee resource groups and business resource groups, which is fantastic. And Nora, I know you've shared the same just in terms of Merck being able to make some of those international connections between your different locations and offices through your ERG.
Yeah, so we have had tremendous success expanding our footprint outside the United States, and through the Merck Capability Network, they've grown their membership by more than 30% globally. So we have launched chapters in Italy, Saudi Arabia, Ireland. We have grown in the Czech Republic. And one of the common themes that we have found in launching these chapters is that employees are very interested in the topic of mental health. So as we've grown globally, that has been a focus area for us. And we've done a lot of great things with these chapters in terms of bringing them along based on the work that has happened in the United States, and where it makes sense, how we can take that work and sort of transport it to outside the United States and see where that fits in with their business model.
Absolutely. Now, it sounds like tremendous success and growth still for your employee resource groups, despite challenges from this year. How else has Merck been able to maintain a focus on disability inclusion, diversity and inclusion? Were your original plans for 2020 changed at all? Were they shifted at all by everything that's happened this year?
Our team that I lead, the Global Disability Inclusion Strategy Council, each year sets out a list of priorities that they want to focus on. And we've been on this journey for quite some time. As far as a council is concerned, this is our 6th year. So I think we're pretty used to looking at what it is we want to tackle as a group. And we move, full force ahead to try and achieve those things. In 2020, we had an aggressive agenda in terms of what it was that we wanted to focus on. And one of those priorities was in the area of digital accessibility. Just like Leidos, we felt that this was an imperative in terms of putting this on the business agenda. And through the council's work, we have made significant strides this year in really advancing that priority. We brought together a global team that had an opportunity to learn with us in terms of the work that needed to be done to ensure that there was access for everyone. We drafted a corporate policy on digital accessibility. We established standards and procedures. We engaged our procurement team on language that we want to embed in our contracts so that we can ensure that our third-party vendors also have the capability and are delivering on digital accessibility in any type of technology that we procure or have developed by them. We engaged with our IT leadership, and when you begin to do work in the digital space, what you find is that it's a highly complex area. And when I entered into this work, I thought that digital accessibility sat within the IT organization. I think what I quickly learned over the last couple of years is that there's a commercial side of this that does not sit within IT, and there are many, many stakeholders that are involved. So one of the things that we spent a lot of time on this year was focused on digital accessibility as one of our priority areas. Another priority area that we had was to really disrupt the way that we were doing outreach and recruitment, and my colleague Victoria can speak a bit about the work that she's been leading. We all know that there is significant opportunity to engage with students at the university level and to bring students on as interns, but we wanted to think about this more holistically in ways that we can engage professional organizations and associations like Getting Hired so that we could tap into the talent pool of experience level professionals that also happen to have a disability. And so that's something that we've been working through. I would say we began to work in looking at ways to engage with other partners who have done work within the autism space in terms of autism at work programs. We had an event recently where we invited in an external partner. There were 21 students that joined us for this event, and it was the largest event where we had colleagues from within the company volunteer to be part of this Employer Connect event where they were able to engage with the talent from the student population. So those are just some small examples of things that we were focused on. There are other priorities that we had, and we just continued to deliver on those priorities. I think the biggest difference for us was that we had some really great ideas around events we were planning on site, and those needed to be postponed. But by and large, we were still able to achieve a lot this year.
Absolutely. And to jump in, Nora, on the recruitment and outreach standpoint, I think as talent acquisition professionals, this has been the year of agility. We've had to adapt and we've had to approach what has become obstacles as opportunities to reach a broader audience. So we did have a very aggressive agenda for 2020, and we did start the year off strong. For those of you that target early career talent, you might be familiar that as you build relationships with career services on campus, there's not always that direct connect to students with disabilities. So we've been very proactive with a lot of the core schools that we work with to start building those relationships with student disability services to say, we really want to work with your students. How do we best approach meeting their needs and meeting them where they're at to get their interest in our organization, or really help mentor them to figure out what comes next. So fortunately, prior to March, we were able to go to Cornell, and we hosted a networking night with their student disability services as well as career services to have a very authentic conversation around topics that are meaningful to us at Merck. Around inclusive design, accommodations, just overarching inclusion, and how that really goes into intersectionality, which as humans, we're multifaceted. So really wanting to take that approach with how we engage with talent. Once March hit, we really needed to pivot our strategy because we recognized we were no longer able to go on campus. So fortunately, thanks to partner organizations like Getting Hired, and I'd be remiss to not give a shout out to Lauren and Pauline for their support. but we ended up hosting a really phenomenal session around demystifying the pharmaceutical industry virtually. And what was powerful about it is, as an organization, we've taken a step back to say, how do we best attract talent to the organization? And a lot of that starts off with, what can I do within pharma? So it was a really great way to partner with Getting Hired, to target a demographic that is interested or potentially interested in the pharmaceutical industry and have this virtual conversation. But I think what was most meaningful was we leveraged our Merck capability network. We had individuals that shared mental health struggles. We had individuals that shared other disabilities that they had, and how that hasn't kept them from being a scientist, from being out in the field and working with healthcare providers, and also our caregivers, which has been another network of where our outreach has really been focused moving forward, because we also want to make sure that for our own employees, not only is it about those with disabilities, but how are we also helping those that have loved ones with disabilities as well. So with our three-pronged approach from a recruitment standpoint, it's been really important for us to really just be able to pivot, leverage accessible platforms, and meet talent where they're at, to really engage them in the organization and help mentor them moving forward. So when I think about what some of our goals are as we remain within this virtual environment, is creating virtual experiences where we can bring in talent with disabilities to be able to showcase what they are capable of doing. So Disability In at their conference hosts this opportunity called an innovation lab. And to Nora's point, we had really wanted to target doing this event live prior to the pandemic. And what we've been working on internally with some design experience leads, as well as externally with some of the student disability service partners, is how do we create this virtual experience that we can have students be mentored by Merck colleagues, address a business opportunity, and then get to present in front of key decision makers to then get opportunities within the organization. So I feel like, in terms of our entire panel, it's really just thinking differently about how we attract talent into the organization and making sure that that is an accessible experience.
I love so much of what you said. I think two things really stand out to me between what you and Nora both touched on. One is the education that you have provided as the employer. And that's something that we always like to remind organizations of, is whether it is early talent and you're connecting with colleges and universities, whether they are disability specific advocacy organizations or nonprofits or others just in the diversity space, you have to provide that education as well and reiterate those messages of, hey, do you know what the definition of a disability is? Do you know that this is considered to be a disability? Do you know that our organization recognizes that as well? And we, in fact, want to hire individuals with disabilities, especially for early career talent. I just think back to when I was a college student, I had no idea that anybody considered a lot of what are non-apparent examples of disabilities to be a disability. I had no idea that companies specifically thought of that as a diversity demographic and that they wanted to hire that specific group. So providing those reminders to students when you host events, when you host fairs, to provide that education, I think is really huge. And then the second piece is just that intersectionality piece. A lot of times when we get the question of, hey, where do I find candidates with disabilities? We often say, one, you already are talking to them. They just have non-apparent disabilities and they haven't disclosed to you, but you should implement your best practices for making an inclusive candidate experience with every single candidate you talk to for that reason. And the second is leverage all of your existing partners in your pipelines. I know at Leidos, there's 30% of your employee base are veterans and wounded warriors as well. And so there's that intersectionality there. Veterans can have service and non-service connected disabilities. You can identify with any other type of diversity and have a disability as well. So if you have a partnership specifically for, let's say, different races or ethnicities, and you partner with organizations there, any one of those candidates could have disabilities, leverage those existing partnerships, and remember that intersectionality piece. So I think really, really great points there. Another point, Nora, that you really drove home was just the involvement of leadership, the involvement of your strategic councils that you have. And I think that's really what has also helped Merck to maintain a focus throughout any changes, throughout any challenges from this year and overall. And you all were presented with the Employer of the Year Award by Disability In this year. So congratulations, it's a huge achievement. Can you touch on, between you and Victoria, just what has that journey looked like? You know, not every organization is at that place where they have a strategic council, or they even know how to form a strategic council and they have leadership buy-in. So kind of taking us back down to the basics, do you have any advice there? Oh, I think we have you on mute, Nora.
There we go. So we have been involved in disability inclusion for a long time. And what I would say is that as we were thinking about our strategy for diversity and inclusion, we wanted to be intentional about disability. And under the leadership of Celeste Warren, she's our Chief Diversity Officer, she created a ambassador team framework. There are 4 ambassador teams that report up through the Office of Diversity. One is focused on employee resource groups. Another is focused on the business. It's called the Business Consortium. The third is an HR extended leadership team, which is focused on all things related to HR through a lens of diversity and inclusion. And the fourth is the Global Disability and Inclusion Strategy Council, which I lead. When we formed this council, it came out of an organizational assessment that we had done to look at where we were doing well and where we had opportunities to improve. There were about 29 areas of focus that came out of that organizational assessment. And when Celeste and I talked about the results of this, I had said to her, we need to bring in thought leaders, decision makers, and those that can sponsor the work that we want to execute on over the next 5 years. And in doing that, we did create a cross-functional group of leaders on this council who then began to develop their 5-year plan and came back to us with how they planned to execute on those changes that were identified in the organizational assessment. So that was really the foundation for us in terms of the work that we needed to do. And it enabled us to prioritize what needed to get done over the 5-year period. What I would say for those that are early in the journey and they're trying to figure out, where do I start? There are some phenomenal resources out there that you can tap into. One is through EARN, which has an Inclusion Works framework. So if you're new to this space and you go to askearn.org, you can access this framework and really look at where you are in terms of your organization's culture. One thing that I advise people about is you really need to meet people where they are. And once you understand where your organization is, then you can begin to develop a strategy to work on to create that disability inclusive culture. So for us, it was the Global Disability Strategy Council that helped us to achieve so much of what we were able to do in the last 5 years, and to then receive that recognition from Disability In. Victoria knows that from day one, I would say, we're not ready to apply for the Employer of the Year award. And then year 2 happened and we're not ready yet. And so the team would say, okay, so when will we be ready? And I said, we will be ready when our inside voice matches the outside voice. And once we knew that our employees believed in what we were doing. They felt what we were doing. And more importantly, there was a sense of belonging that happened over this time. When we felt it was authentic enough, that's when we applied, for the Employer of the Year award.
So I don't know how you follow that up, because I think that's exactly it. I think on my end, having had the privilege of starting to work with Nora and disability efforts in 2017, I think a lot of it, it's little changes you make that makes such a difference. Like, I think about our employer brand and how we put a focus on making sure our content's accessible, making sure that we are getting diverse voices, people sharing their personal experiences and giving them a platform because their voice matters. Because when you're looking to attract different demographics to your organization, what type of content do you want them seeing? What is your employee value proposition? How do you want people to feel when they hear about your organization? So it's so energizing when you start hearing people's stories internally, whether it's about mental health or, they got into an accident when they were younger, which now they don't have a limb, but now they're still a scientist. Everybody has such a powerful story. And the more we tell those stories, the more people will connect with your organization. And it was this trickling effect for us to take a step back at an organization and say, we do some things well, but how can we do them better? How can we be more inclusive? And I think just as empowering as it is for people who view some of our content, who talk to some of our employees, internally, there is this level of empowerment and that sense of belonging that is so incredibly important and foundational if you want to truly be an inclusive organization. So it has been such a phenomenal journey. And I think what's super exciting is that we're not remaining complacent with where we're at. We're continuing to challenge what good looks like within the organization. So excited to see what the next year brings.
I love your internal voice has to match your external. I think that is crucial. Doesn't matter what industry you're in, doesn't matter how large your organization is, there has to be consistency, and job seekers, candidates, new employees need to feel that same feeling of inclusivity that you're working so hard to implement within your talent acquisition team. More importantly, now that they're an employee. So I absolutely love that. Somehow we are almost mid-December, moving towards the end of the year and moving into 2021, a brand new year. Jordan, I would love to turn it back to you. What does 2021 look like for Comcast in terms of disability inclusion plans? What does that roadmap look like? How do you even decide what goes on that roadmap? There's so much to focus on and everything is equally important. How does that decision-making process really happen?
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of want to go to what Merck was saying earlier. The organizations, all these organizations, the size of them is so massive when you think about, all the people you impact internally. And so I really think breaking it down to a scale where you can make a difference, to the groups around you where it's a trickle effect. So, for the organization at large through our partnerships, I mentioned the ARC and Easter Seals, Disability In, our partnership with Getting Hired, to name a few. And I think with each of those organizations, it's finding ways that we can make an impact, specifically from the piece that you're representing. So for mine, in the talent side, we went ahead this year and brought together leaders from our accessibility group, from DE&I, from talent, from our Comcast University, which is our learning and development team for educational resources across the company. And I think it really is taking a look of what we currently have internally and level setting our research. The whole intersectionality piece of it, I think, is a big thing. There's certain resources that aren't being utilized to their fullest. So taking a look at what you currently have as an organization and where you can tap into those resources from different perspectives. So from there, once we kind of have level set where our organization is at with our different teams, from accessibility, from diversity, equity, and inclusion, we've made a roadmap for this next year, breaking those down to different pillars and taking a look at technology to onboarding, to our, early career piece. I know Victoria was mentioning the talent side for early careers, and that's something that's really personal to my role and something that I've been able to work closely with, and something we're hoping to continue in 2021. We were in early 2020, we were able to bring some students from high school to connecting with some college students and bring them to Comcast, and bring them to our Comcast Technology Center, which if you've seen before, it's a beautiful space. Hopefully we'll be back in person to see it soon. But in there we have our accessibility lab. And I think that is something, we love to highlight to our students, and really finding resources internally that you can showcase your products. And, for us, we want to make all of our products an inclusive experience. So showing, the voice from internal to external, as Nora, you were mentioning too, I think is a big piece for, our early career people, for our students, for our, wherever really you are in your career, to see what the organization is doing internally and how they support it from, executive leadership to the products that they're, developing. And so the roadmap, it kind of expands throughout, but I think from the talent side, it's connecting with those student groups, creating more virtual events for them to see firsthand. From our My Abilities network, we have partnerships from our Comcast side, from our NBC Universal side to Sky that we've now expanded globally. So really making sure these networks are expanded throughout, and that we're able to connect with talent, across the board, and have them see opportunities and see themselves at Comcast.
I love it. Laura, I want to ask you the same question in terms of Leidos's 2021 roadmap. So many different diversity groups, initiatives, et cetera, to be focusing on. How do you determine what to focus on for the next year? What does that look like?
That's a good question. And focus seems to imply a singular area. I don't want us to be too scattered, yet I also think we really do have a lot of so many different opportunity areas, and we've made good progress, but I'm excited to move down the path in a lot of those different areas. So, right, I mentioned the Enterprise Inclusion Council that just started this year. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. The Inclusive Conversations, to be pulling that data to see where that one goes. We have a full all-employee engagement survey going out in the spring, and we'll be able to slice that by demographics, including veterans and individuals with disabilities. So see where we can get information from that. We've started to look at metrics more closely. We've, for our personnel metrics, we've always looked at them for OFCCP purposes, but starting to add it for a broader HR group, and not just looking at race and gender, but looking at veteran status, disabled veterans, individuals with disabilities, to really start getting more, the data on more people's radar, right? So we can just get more on the conversation. And then digital accessibility, right? I'm interested, right, in hearing what Jordan and Nora talked about there. That's a big area, and we've made some progress, but really we have, in a way, we've taken care of the easy items. We have a lot more to do there, so interested to see where that will go. And hopefully in-person events, right? I think we're all ready for some of that in-person networking, and that, I think, even no matter what we talk about, it would just be nice to get back together and talk to people in person and start to collaborate again.
I couldn't agree more. My fingers are crossed that we will all be able to see each other in person at a conference or event sometime next year. So what I'm hearing so far is a lot of focus on some of those initiatives that were already in place, either for the years past or just even 2020, maybe it just started. And so it's a really great way, an easy way to just build upon those and make sure that those are strengthened throughout the next year into 2021. Victoria and Nora would love to hear about Merck's 2021 roadmap, but also would love to know just the importance of disability inclusion to both of you personally. I think both of you are such huge drivers within the organization for this. And what I'm hearing from all of the panelists are you found a way to incorporate disability inclusion within the organization's broader inclusion and diversity plans. It's not just something that's siloed. It's not something that's an afterthought. It's just as equally important as all other I&D initiatives there. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I've been so passionate about this work for decades. It began a long time ago, and it only increased over the years. And working with folks that are just as passionate as I am makes it fun. There's so many wonderful things that we're able to achieve and really think about differently than I would say earlier on in my career. Personally, for me, as I've aged into a disability, I think I've learned a lot about the diversity of disability. And what I've come to realize is that there's so much more that we can be doing. And I want to see us think about ways in which everyone can feel part of the organization and not leave anyone behind. For the 2021 priorities that we have, I think for us, digital accessibility is going to continue to be a huge priority. Quite frankly, knowing what we know today, there's a lot of education that needs to happen in the organization, both at the employee level as well as those that touch technology. And we've developed a training plan that we will be executing on to reach all of the audiences within Merck so that they can become more confident in this space. We'll be partnering with the EBRGs to help us on that learning journey as well. There's a lot that the EBRGs have to offer that I think can help the organization be better at what they do. And then I would say from a talent acquisition standpoint, Victoria is always disrupting what we do. And because she is so creative and innovative, it makes it fun, it makes it interesting. And we have been able to get more sponsorship from the organization because now people are coming to us to say, I want to be involved. How can I help support the disability inclusive agenda at Merck? And it has really been phenomenal for us. So Victoria, I don't know if you have anything else to add there.
No, absolutely. And I'd say, I'd be remiss to not admit Nora has been my mentor in this space. I never thought I could take my career into an area I felt so personally passionate about. And for me, that sense of belonging and making sure that everybody feels welcome and included is so incredibly important. And as we think about being resilient, as we think about being agile and approaching work differently, there's no more powerful demographic than people with disabilities. So to be able to be an advocate and bring them along the journey with us to say, listen, you do this okay, but this would be better is extremely empowering. And I think as we go into 2021, it's how do we continue to be intentional and creative with our approach? And, for us, from a recruitment standpoint, it's not just even about our early career talent and our professionals, but we also hold our suppliers accountable for the talent that they recruit to be on account with us. And that is just as important. And they have been phenomenal partners in bringing in individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities to work for them and with the organization. So for me, it's, bringing the organization along with us, making sure we're empowering people to leverage their voices, whether they're caregivers, allies, or people with disabilities, and just continue to challenge ourselves to truly be an inclusive organization.
I love all of it. I love all of the advice. And we only have a couple minutes left somehow. And I want to close this out by asking, we've received a lot of great questions. So I know we didn't get to a lot of those. Some of them we tried to answer along the way. Happy to follow up with you directly afterwards. I have notes of all of those that we have received. But just in closing, one of the questions that we did receive from a number of people is, what's one thing to focus on for 2021, especially considering that we might still be supporting a remote workforce? Is there one thing that you would suggest to really hone in on? Is there one thing that you suggest just starting with if you're new to this or trying to strengthen existing efforts? So I'll give an option between those two things. Would love each panelist's thought and your closing remarks there.
Sarah, I'm happy to jump in. I think what I've seen is having an overarching commitment to inclusion is going to drive so much else, right? Even if you're not there yet, even if you just see the journey ahead of you, if you've got that commitment and it's visible, then I think people will recognize, hey, you know what? We have a lot of places we still need to go, but we're committed to get there, and I'm on board. Let me be part of the solution. Let's be a team and figure out how we can get there. I think so much can happen with that backdrop. If people are comfortable, then we can make it happen. It's just going to take time, but we've got that commitment and we're in it together. So we'll figure out how to get there.
So for us, when I think about this, focusing on one thing is really hard for me because I feel like I need to be moving in so many different places. But what I've learned this year is that working in a virtual environment requires us to really think about the ways in which we communicate. And is that communication channel accessible to our employees? And I think, Victoria and I have learned a lot through the technology and platforms that we use at Merck. And in fact, there were times when they weren't as accessible as they needed to be. So what I would do is if we're going to be in this virtual environment, I think it requires us to think about the way in which we show up in meetings. And it's simple things. It's turning on the camera so that you have a higher level of engagement with those that you're meeting with. I've also learned that by turning on the camera, it helps someone who may be hard of hearing or deaf and needs to be able to read lips. They can see you on camera, and it's easier for them then to participate. I would say that if you can take the time and really focus on the things that you need to learn more about or want to learn more about, and it can be something very simple that you haven't felt as confident about in the disability space, and take the time, give yourself the time to learn. And I think that will go a long way in what you need to focus on in 2021.
Oh, go ahead, Jordan. I know you're both.
I'll go quickly. I think, there's no wrong answer what to start with. I think starting somewhere is a great place to start. And I think, first and foremost, taking a look of really engaging your key stakeholders. Don't silo it to one group because you don't want anything to be an afterthought. And I think if you take a look at where you are from a talent space, where you are from a DE&I, where you are from accessibility, and really bringing those leaders together to make a plan of what it's going to look like a year, 5, 10 years down the road. And I think if you engage with that roadmap early on, it helps. And to Nora's point of, everything of making it accessible from a daily basis, that's where you have to start. So from the way you're, conducting your meetings to emailing to phone conversations, whatever it may be, simple things can really make a difference, and that will, trickle to other areas.
And I'll add very quickly, I know we're at time. I would just say, as organizations, if you're putting a focus on mental health, continue to do so. If you're not, really look to find ways to create that culture of well-being. Employees are dealing with different things, whether you've identified with the disability previous to the pandemic or now you're just struggling with your mental health. Put a focus, because if you create those forums to focus on wellness, your employees are more engaged, and you also could potentially hear about some gaps in the organization that would make their employee experience better.
I couldn't agree with all these points more. I want to thank everybody who joined us today. To all of the panelists, thank you so much. Jordan, especially to echo your point, there's no one right place to start. So if you're wondering, well, what are all of the places? It could be starting with that external piece, your marketing and your branding, the messages that you're putting out there, messages from your leadership to echo out the organization's commitment to disability inclusion, and then turning that internally to Nora's point. Are those same messages being communicated to all of your existing employees just as consistently as they are externally to candidates and followers? So that's just one small place that you can start by having the conversation with your team and have that expand outwardly from there. So those are just some of the few places and suggestions, but if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us directly. We'd be more than happy to help create a plan for you over the next year and have that conversation with you. But thank you to everybody again. Thank you to all of our panelists. A sincere thank you for all of the knowledge that you shared in your time, and we will send out the recording to this afterwards. So thank you again. Have a wonderful day, everybody.